Farooq Tariq. He's a member of Haqooq, which is also the Haqooq movement, which is the People's Rights Movement of Pakistan. So go ahead, Farooq.
You're muted. Farooq, you're muted.
Sorry.
There's good.
Thank you, Kathy and Bill, for giving some history and some background. And particularly, Bill, you gave all the details of what happened and how American imperialism has treated Afghanistan in the past 20 years. I will take up issue of Pakistan, impact on Pakistan, issue of religious fundamentalism, what happened and what are our demands, which Kathy has spoken in the end to some extent. So I will take some of these points. Pakistani government has glorified the victory of Taliban, and now they are facilitating all the heads of intelligence agencies. Yesterday, 7 of them met in Islamabad, and they are now forming an opinion that we should engage with Taliban. And their main emphasis at this time is don't leave Afghanistan alone. But what they mean is recognize Taliban as a representative government of Afghanistan and support Taliban. Now, that is the position of the Pakistani government, and we can say that we don't agree with this position, what the government is now saying. I will speak about it, but it has great impact in Pakistan. Religious fundamentalism in Pakistan has been promoted, not only in Pakistan, but also in India, in most of the South Asian countries. And we see more incidents of glorifying Taliban, and also general acceptance among the Pakistani masses that it's good that Taliban has taken over, because they have just given their religious face. And most of the Pakistani people at this time has forgotten what happened during 96 to 2001, when Taliban were in power at the time. When TV was banned, when universities, women education was banned, when they broke all the cassettes and football was un-Islamic and all that different activities they did at the time, and you must have the beard and all that. But now there was a survey yesterday that over 55% of Pakistanis has approved the taking over of Taliban in Afghanistan. So that is a very complex matter. It's not very straightforward a support to Taliban, but it has also linked the consciousness of the people against American imperialism. People are happy that Americans are defeated. That is the main thing which people bring to their mind. I can tell you, when 9th place, my father called me to my hometown and he said, I am sick, you should come and visit me. So I went to Toba Tek Singh, my hometown, but he was not sick. He said, I am very happy that something has been done in America. I said, my father, you will see now the reaction of American imperialism. They will make the lives of Muslims all over the world terrible, and you will see the reaction of the barbarian American imperialist actions in the future, and we saw that. So, I mean, any action against American imperialism in the shape of individual terrorism or in the shape of taking over of Taliban is generally been accepted by the ordinary Muslims. But that's where we are fighting an ideological war within Pakistan, where we are not in majority, but we are saying that Taliban is a bad news. Taliban's taking over is a bad news for all the progressive forces. Yes, it is a defeat of American imperialism, but it is also a defeat of the progressive forces internationally, because now Taliban has taken over, which are one of the most conservative religious fundamentalist government. And we do not believe the words of Taliban who are saying we are not the old ones. And we have already seen the way they have behaved with the courageous demonstration of women in Kabul, the way they have treated them by beating them, by arresting them, the way they have behaved with the journalists. And we are printing a daily Urdu paper online called Jidojahad, The Struggle, in which we are printing Kabul diaries daily. We have a correspondent and we have friends in Kabul who are sending us what's happening every day in Kabul, and we see a total apathy. So what happened? Why Taliban were able to take over while over $2 trillion were spent by the Americans with the 300,000 fully armed army, and without a fight, they just went out. I think there was a general hatredness against Americans after 2005. After Iraq takeover, initially there was some illusions in Afghanistan that Americans would save them. But after 2005, we have many reports that Americans were not accepted. They should have left immediately afterwards, but they stayed on and on. And that has given an image to the ordinary Afghans that is good for the rich people, that Americans are giving money, but it's bad for the ordinary people. So there was a great polarization between rich and the poor because of the American aid in Afghanistan, and the way they have behaved, and the way the money was spent by some of the NGOs, some of the government officials, and some of the fake soldiers, ghost soldiers by these military journals. I mean, people would not fight for Americans. Why they should fight for the agents of Americans in the shape of Ashraf Ghani? So they just refuse to resist. And I think the whole structure went beyond their expectations into a collapse, total collapse. And I think it has taken by surprise, not only to American imperialism, but many more governments. They did not imagine that Taliban would be so fast to take over. They thought there will be some time, but it seems now that Doha negotiation paved the way for a distrust on the Ashraf Ghani government, because it was over the head of Ashraf Ghani. Trump went straight to Taliban to talk to them instead of involving their own agents, and they forced Pakistan to release Mullah Brother. They forced Ashraf Ghani to release 5,000 Taliban. And the image was given that Taliban is a force that cannot be conquered. So Americans have to deal with them, to talk to them. And I think Doha negotiation paved the way for the fastest occupation of Afghanistan, because there was absolute no trust on the Ashraf Ghani government, even by the American imperialism. Khalilzadeh played the main part, who was the American representative. And Trump was idiot enough to go and started these negotiations without consulting the Afghan government. They were not in favor. So, I mean, now they have taken over. What to do now? I think that Taliban should never be accepted as a genuine representative government of Afghanistan. It is a bunch of gangsters, terrorists who have taken over by force. They are not popular. Not a single demonstration took place in whole Afghanistan welcoming Taliban's government, while immediately women went out against the Taliban. So that shows that Talibans were not a popular force. There is also an image that they are popular in the villages, in the peasantry. No, peasantry was the worst affected by Taliban taking over of different parts of Afghanistan. You go with a gun to a village and say, you give us money for a motorbike, or you give one of your son to be recruited for Taliban. So when you have a gun in a village, what could villagers do there? They have to obey the orders of these terrorists. And that's what happened. And villagers was the most poor area, and they don't drive the force, drive the sport from the villages. They recruited there through the gun by force. And in that sense, it's not a popular democratic takeover of Afghanistan. It's not a popular revolution. It is a bunch of gunmen, terrorists who have taken over. But on the other side, I know many of my friends in Afghanistan has not been paid for the last 3 months. And all the projects of World Bank and IMF and other institutions, they have just stopped paying. Not a single notice has been given to the employees. I know one organization, they lost 2,500 employees. They were working for peace within Afghanistan, and they lost all that wages. People are without food now. There is a real danger of hunger, which is facing to the Afghan people. So what I would say, Kathy, support the people's organization inside Afghanistan, support the groups inside Afghanistan, give them directly money, find the ways how to support them rather than going through Taliban, which would really give them some time to stay in power. And I would also say Taliban are not going to go away in immediate future. It's very difficult option. They have taken over. It will take some time. It's not like Iranian Revolution, which was a popular revolution against Shah. It is more of a gunfight. And in that sense, it can stay for some more time because there's no sort of alternative to Taliban at present time. But that does not mean that there will be no resistance. For 20 years, women have seen employment and they will fight. They are the vanguard of the Afghan people's resistance at present time. And this is really a red salute to the courageous Afghan women who have seen in the eyes of Taliban and say, you go away, we want azadi, we want freedom. And that's where we are supporting them. We also say that there should be no restriction on people leaving Afghanistan, and Pakistan should not deport any Afghan refugees from here. They should give them all sort of assistance and they should be readjusted. And so that sort of maybe alternative program we have to see and formulate. It's a very complex situation. There is no real direct sort of solution of the situation, to be more flexible in our approaches, but I would never ever accept Taliban as the legitimate representative of Afghan people. Thank you.